Hello, welcome to Inside the Summit League, and we are joined by Jay Elsen, who covers the University of South Dakota. And just a week ago, the Coyotes women's basketball team won the NIT, something that no other Summit League team has ever done. And now the Coyotes are looking for a new head coach this week because on Monday, Amy Williams of USD was named the new head coach at the University of Nebraska. And congratulations to her, first of all. I know you got to know her very well over the last 4 years, but to jump from a head coach in the Summit League to a head coach in the Big Ten for Amy Williams, this is a huge deal for the league, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. I mean, I think there's some sticker shock there because it just seems it's pretty unprecedented, to be frank, and something that's certainly a little bit interesting, just given that you're in the Summit League and you're winning a regular season. You didn't even get to the NCAA tournament, but then here you go on this postseason run, and now next year when you start, you're going to be coaching the Huskers. That's certainly a credit to her and everything that she's accomplished in a pretty short time at the University of South Dakota. But it's something to kind of really try to step back and soak in for a second because it's not something you see every day.
And I asked you that last week about winning the NIT.
Yeah, right.
Was it surprising a little bit, or was it totally shocking? And this kind of fell into place because of several factors with Amy Williams and her ties to Nebraska.
Right, and it did fall into place, and I think that's the perfect way to put it. I think this is the perfect job at the perfect time for Amy Williams because, not only is she a former Husker, but she's obviously a very good head coach who's coming off a championship in the WNIT, but she's also at a time and a point in her program where she's losing a lot of players, from this team. They had a group of what I call super seniors this year that all contributed in a big, big way to the success that she's had during her tenure at South Dakota. So if you're ever going to make a jump, now is the time. Is your stock ever going to be higher than it is right now at the University of South Dakota as a head coach? Probably not, because the likelihood of you going on and winning the NCAA tournament obviously seems pretty small based on where the top-tier women's programs are at right now. But you're coming off this WNIT win. You've won a ton of games. You're a former player. You're an alumnus. It just makes a lot of sense. And so I said all along that if there was one job she was going to leave for, one job that it was going to be awful hard for her to turn down, it was Nebraska. And, even a week ago, I don't know that we all expected this job to be open, given the situation down there.
And just the way it fell together was the crazy part of the story is they win the WNIT. They're celebrating virtually the next 2 days. Nebraska lets go of their head coach, and then it falls into place where Amy just happens to win the NIT, and she's an alum there. And she's going to make a lot of money down there, which is a big part of the program. A reported $575,000 a year. Played for the Huskers in the late 90s, and she has built a resume. It's not like she just came out of nowhere. She kind of came out of nowhere, but she's been around for a while and built as an assistant at Oklahoma State and then at Tulsa. She was a head coach in the NAIA ranks at a place called Rogers State in Oklahoma for 5 years, and then 4 years at USD, and they went 36-2 this year. They played in 4 straight Summit League championship games, the Coyote women did, so she had certainly built herself up to be in position, regardless of the the serendipity of how it fell together. Sure. She had certainly built up the resume.
96-44 in 4 seasons. That kind of says it all. I mean, and you mentioned the 4 straight appearances in the Summit League tournament game. The only other coach that can claim that is Erin Johnston. Yeah. I mean, that's something to really be proud of. If you're her. She's the second all-time winningest coach at USD, and she was only there for 4 seasons. So, you can't argue with the resume. And if you get to know Amy, the person, you like this hire even more for Nebraska. And as you mentioned, I had the fortune of working with her very closely on Kyle Corner for the last 4 years, and I can tell you she's an absolutely incredible woman, and she's not to mention a very good basketball coach. But she created this environment at USD that was very, very family-like, and that's what she wanted her program to be. She said during her press conference that she brings this workman-like attitude, the kind of old lunch pail mentality in her program, and her team certainly epitomized that this year with the way they worked together, the way they rallied around one another, and the way that they really seemed to enjoy being around and playing together. So, I think just you look at it, all factors considered, I don't think the Huskers could have done better.
These things obviously move very fast. They named her as the head coach on Monday. Williams was in Lincoln on Tuesday to meet the Cornhusker media and the fans and the administrators down there.
I want to make sure I thank the University of South Dakota, President Jim Abbott, David Saylor, David Herbster, Dave Williams, the staff, and most of all the student athletes that I was blessed to coach at USD. It's so important to have that sense of family and being home, and for me, the University of South Dakota provided that, and Nebraska even more so. That feeling of home, that comfort, just knowing that the great people that are around you just feel like family, and so I've just been blessed with unique opportunity to be in situations that are home.
In my conversations with Amy, it has become very clear that she not only possesses the intelligence, expertise, and passion to lead us to Big Ten championships, but she shares the same core values that drive our department, our university, and the state. Amy has already met with our current student athletes and has been very busy recruiting the next group of Huskers.
To be honest with you, it was going to take something extremely special to make me turn my attentions away, and there's no question that the University of Nebraska qualifies. I have incredibly fond memories of this place, and am so excited. It's certainly the perfect fit for me to return home and have this opportunity.
So congrats to Amy Williams. Certainly a big day for the Summit League, for one thing, and it kind of stinks for the local media like you guys around Vermillion down there to see someone go who was so good to work with. Good for the Nebraska media down there, but she was great to work with.
She absolutely was. I mean, she opened the door to me and to Midco Sports Network for our coverage of their team and their program, and just a really a pleasure. I can't state that enough. With just the last 4 years and all the opportunities that she has afforded me and our network. So it's certainly going to be tough to not have those weekly conversations with her anymore. But at the same time, now we get to see what they do next from here, because this is a very attractive job. Don't make any bones about that, because not only are you coming off this WNIT title, but you've got some very talented young players in the program. We'll see what happens with the recruits, but if they stand as they are now, there's a very talented class coming in of young players from this region that all could have the potential to be very, very good basketball players at the collegiate level. And then, of course, by the way, you've got this new multi-million-dollar arena that you're moving in. So there's going to be a lot of reasons that a lot of people are going to want that job, and I'm excited to see who it is next.
All right. Thanks a lot. Jay Elsen covers the University of South Dakota. Up next, well, where does the Summit League stand in the wide world of college basketball? Are we a proving ground, a resume builder? More than that, our college hoops analyst Brad Newitt is in next to talk about those things.
Inside the Summit League on Midco Sports Network is presented by Grand Falls Casino and Golf Resort, Dakota Land Honda, and South Dakota Corn. Inside the Summit League on Midco Sports Network is presented by Sanford Orthopedics and Sports Medicine and the Sioux Falls Convention and Visitors Bureau.
Welcome back to Inside the Summit League. We love baseball, softball, tennis, track and field, all of that, but basketball gets a big share of the attention in the league, and a lot of it right now having to do with head coaches coming and going. Brad Newitt is our college basketball guy in to talk about the state of the Summit League in basketball, Newitt, and I'm a little conflicted. Very proud of what the league teams are doing and what coaches are doing in this league and being able to move on to bigger and better things, but also a little annoyed, I guess. I don't know if that's the right word, but that we are still in the Summer League, a stepping stone on the path to somewhere else. Am I just whiny about this today, or am I looking at the water bottle half empty on all this? What do you think?
Well, I first of all, I look at it as it's a great thing to see that the Summit League coaches are desired, first of all, by other schools. But as a fan and as someone who follows the Summit League, it is a little bit of a kind of irritation to know that you're losing really good coaches. Scott Nagy, obviously moving on from South Dakota State. This week, Amy Williams from the University of South Dakota. Coaches that have had a lot of success in the Summit League have built quality programs. And that takes time to do. You don't just step in and do that in a year or two. And so there's a little bit of that that hurts because you don't want to see a drop off in those programs because they perform so well. But yet you're happy for those coaches because they are getting to move on to bigger and better things.
Yeah, exactly. Congratulations, obviously, to Scott Nagy going to Wright State. Amy Williams going from South Dakota to the University of Nebraska. And on the men's side, a lot of these moves in the past years have been from the Summit League to other mid-major programs. Not so the case with Amy Williams at Nebraska. Goes right to the Big Ten. And your reaction on her on the news this week that Amy Williams at Nebraska now.
Well, when I first heard the opening at Nebraska, it wasn't too hard to connect the dots. Of course, Amy played there, and so and being already in the Midwest, and has had such success, I think, coming into South Dakota and picking up what was already a good starting position in what Ryan Williams had built there, and really taking it to another level. And I think that's what they're hoping she can do at Nebraska. It's a school that's had some success in women's basketball, but obviously has aspirations of competing for conference championships, going far in the NCAA tournament, and Amy Williams has shown the ability to do that with her teams at South Dakota.
And not that this was the factor, but is there a conscious effort to hire females for these positions, for women's head coaching jobs, especially in the Big Ten? We saw this at Minnesota, now at Nebraska. And it's not the factor, obviously, but it does play a part, doesn't it?
It does, and I think when there's qualified candidates that are females, they're always going to get a good look. And again, Amy being an alumnus, played at Nebraska, obviously she's in the forefront of their thoughts and looking at a head coach. But I think when it comes down to it, you ask any athletic director, they want a quality coach that's going to win basketball games and do it the right way. That's the number one thing they're always looking for.
She will be good at the University of Nebraska. And you look around the league right now, Aaron Johnston at South Dakota State's had all kinds of success there. Austin Parkinson has had success at IUPUI in the past years. And I'm not saying they're going anywhere right now, but you never know. But there's also something to be said about the stability of the Summit League. And it's a good mid-major league, and these are good jobs for these coaches, aren't they?
It's getting better every year. You know, you look at the quality of basketball in the Summit League, the RPI rankings, and how that's been going very well for the Summit League. These coaches are starting to get paid more on the landscape of what Division I coaches across the country are getting paid. I still think there's some lag there, and that's why we have seen some of these coaches leave, I think, quite frankly, is some of that. And I think some of that, Tom, is just the newness of some of these programs. You look at like a South Dakota State, a South Dakota, even a North Dakota State. They haven't been Division I schools for very long in the landscape of the time frame of their universities, and so I think the salaries and some of those things will start to catch up, and I think that's really even going to help the Summit League even more.
Yeah, the men's side, the other big coaching move in the past week was Scott Nagy from South Dakota State going to Wright State in the Horizon League. In recent years, we've seen Saul Phillips go from North Dakota State to Ohio in the MAC, the Mid-America Conference. Tony Jasic gone from IPFW to Jacksonville in the other MAC, the Metro Atlantic Athletic Conference. These are two mid-major leagues, but we have found out, and you touched on this, that when it comes to paying men's basketball coaches right now, they are in a different league than the Summit. And you talked a little bit about that, but money talks, and you start talking $500,000 a year for these guys. It makes sense that they're going to make a jump from one mid-major to the other.
I think that's one of the factors, and I think also just sometimes it's geographic too, and some of those times those guys are looking to maybe move into areas that have, quite frankly, more population, more players to recruit from. You look at, I think Saul Phillips going to Ohio and being the state university of a very, very large populous state. I mean, that's a very nice job that a lot of people have sought after, and that's a job too that we've seen a lot of head coaches move from Ohio into high major jobs. The coach at Illinois right now came from Ohio, and so those are some things I think that factor into these coaches too. And it's like a job, kind of a corporate ladder for any industry. You're always looking to see how can you move up, how can you get to, become the vice president of the company, and all those things. And basketball coaching in a lot of ways isn't much different than that.
And the glass half full way to look at it, I guess, is it creates opportunities. David Richmond stepped right in at North Dakota State, had great success there. John Kaufman at IPFW after Tony Jasic left, and hopefully at South Dakota State somebody else is going to get a chance there. And there's always those opportunities, so that's one of the good things about it.
And I think that's the thing you've really hit on there. It's all these coaches that have left, in my opinion, have really left their programs in good shape because they've built programs with good solid foundations in their recruiting base and how they coach their players. And so yes, you see some of the assistants have been able to step in, like Dave Richmond, in his first year, goes to the NCAA tournament, wins the Summit League tournament in his first year. A lot of that is just what Saul Phillips left as a foundation. And I think the foundation, like at South Dakota on the men's, or South Dakota State on the men's side, South Dakota on the women's side, very solid. the coaches that they are going to get to come into those places are going to have great chances to build successful programs.
That job at South Dakota State on the men's side has been open for about a week and a half now. Do they need to get somebody hired this week? What are the reasons they need to get this done soon?
Twofold on that. One is obviously recruiting, and April's a huge recruiting month for college basketball. Not only trying to finish out recruiting for this season and figuring out who's on your team next year, but it's the beginning of the recruiting cycle for the next year, and April's a big evaluation time. And so, yes, a coach needs to get in place sooner rather than later would be good for the Jackrabbits.
All right, back to my original complaint. I should just be happy and enjoy what we have right now in the Summit League. We've got good teams and good coaches, and we're going to enjoy it.
It is. And it was a great year this year, and we want to keep that going, and I think all of us feel that way. The Summit League tournament was awesome. It was great to see the postseason success for some of the teams, and sure look forward to the future.
All right, thanks a lot. Brad Newitt. Baseball coming up next on Inside the Summit League. Pretty good battle going on at the top right now between Oral Roberts and Omaha. North Dakota State is coming along strong. A big week for Ben Peterson for the Bison.
Inside the Summit League on Midco Sports Network is presented by Grand Falls Casino and Golf Resort, Dakota Land Honda, and South Dakota Corn. Inside the Summit League on Midco Sports Network is presented by Sanford Orthopedics and Sports Medicine and the Sioux Falls Convention and Visitors Bureau.
Welcome back. Now to baseball, and Ben Peterson had a good year last year at North Dakota State. He is having a great year so far for the Bison. Peterson is a junior from Lino Lakes, Minnesota. He's the co-player of the week this week. North Dakota State won 4 games. Peterson scored twice in each of those. He also drove in 8 runs, stole a couple of bases. And Matt Watley at Oral Roberts also had a big week, put up almost exactly the same numbers as Peterson. The sophomore catcher from Claremore, Oklahoma, 8 runs scored, 8 RBI, and 2 stolen bases on the week for ORU. And Golden Eagle pitcher Nick Wood is the pitcher of the week. He threw a complete game 1-hit shutout against Western Illinois, struck out 7 in that game, walked just 1. And here are Wood and Watley in action, and Omaha at South Dakota State over the weekend.
Well, here's that pitching gem by Nick Wood on Friday for Oral Roberts. He gets Colton Pogue swinging, 9 innings, 7 strikeouts, a 1-hit win for Wood in Game 2. And then Matt Watley with a home run in Game 3, and Oral Roberts takes 2 out of 3 from Western Illinois. Omaha takes 2 of 3 at South Dakota State. The Mavericks with 34 hits, 29 runs. Adam Caniglia with one of 4 Omaha homers in Game 1.
Softball is on deck. Omaha and South Dakota are off to great starts in Summit League play, but North Dakota State has been almost perfect so far.
Inside the Summit League on Midco Sports Network is presented by Grand Falls Casino and Golf Resort, Dakota Land Honda, and South Dakota Corn. Inside the Summit League on Midco Sports Network is presented by Sanford Orthopedics and Sports Medicine and the Sioux Falls Convention and Visitors Bureau.
Now to softball. Everybody's chasing North Dakota State right now, probably will be for most of the season. Bison senior Cheyenne Garcia, by the way, is about to break the league record for runs scored, and they still have 17 games left in the regular season. The Bison are 6-0 in Summit League play right now. Logan Moreland is the player of the week. 2 more home runs over the weekend for her against Fort Wayne. Moreland has 6 home runs in the last 7 games. And Madison Frayne is the pitcher of the week. South Dakota senior through 2 complete games. Both of them wins, struck out 15 in 15 1/3 innings of work. South Dakota won 3 games in a row at home against IUPUI. Meanwhile, Omaha is off to a 7-1 start in league play. Here are the Mavs at South Dakota State over the weekend.
Saturday at Westside Field in Omaha. South Dakota State gets out to a 5-0 lead with 4 runs in the top of the 3rd inning. But Omaha comes back and they get 5 in the bottom of the inning. Nicole Warren with a rocket to right field. Game tied 5-5 at the end of 3 innings. And then the Mavericks get 4 more in the 4th. They get 5 more runs in the 5th inning. Kelly Pattison and Campbell ditto with home runs. And Omaha wins Game 1 14-5. Jackrabbits bounce back in Game 2. Nice grab out in right field by Dana Chavez. And then an even better one by the Omaha right fielder Kelly Pattison. But South Dakota State squeezes out a couple of runs in the 6th inning. They hang on to win Game 2 3-1. And on Sunday, great game to finish up the series. Allie Herdliska with 2 homers for South Dakota State. She has 12 to lead the league, and SDSU leads 4-1 after 4 innings. And the Jacks kept making plays. Lauren Churnside out in right field this time. Takes a hit away from Pattison. But the Mavericks get 2 runs in the 6th. They are down by a run here in the bottom of the 7th inning, and it is Liz Mancuso. Her first homer of the season is a walk-off 2-run shot, and Omaha wins Game 3, 5-4.
Up next, we bring it home with some tennis and some solid community outreach work by the soccer guys at IUPUI.
Inside the Summit League on Midco Sports Network is presented by Grand Falls Casino and Golf Resort, Dakota Land Honda, and South Dakota Corn. Inside the Summit League on Midco Sports Network is presented by Sanford Orthopedics and Sports Medicine and the Sioux Falls Convention and Visitors Bureau.
And finally, this week in men's tennis, IUPUI moves to 4-0 in Summit League play. The Jags are tied with Denver at the top of the standings. IUPUI with a 4-3 win at Omaha on Saturday. They got singles wins by Jack Newis, Marcus Nally, and Akshay Verma in the 1, 3, and 4 single spots. And they get a #1 doubles win for Bradley Leuchtschwager and Kyle Whitaker. IUPUI will play at Denver this Saturday. That match will decide the Summit League regular season championship. And some good works this week by the men's soccer team at IUPUI, volunteering at the Food Bank of Indiana, packaging and distributing food for those in need. Well done, gentlemen. We'll see you next week on Inside the Summit League.